You're Max? Okay, so I have a cute story. Unfortunately, Dr. Bob Shulman could not be here tonight, so he sent in his stead his, I calculate, 23-year-old son, Max. Are you 23?
24, close enough.
24. So in researching Dr. Bob, who I really didn't know, I found this article from 11 years ago where his father wanted to teach his children a lesson. So he took them out on a corner in La Jolla, California, with signs to beg. And they tried to discourage people from giving them money. Bob wore a Maserati hat and a shirt and tie. And his sign was, "Please help, stock options underwater." And for that, people stopped and gave him money. Max had the best sign. It says, "Homeless can't find a home in Rancho Santa Fe under $10 million. Now, Bob came to one conclusion after they made $35 an hour. He said, "Californians are incredibly generous and illiterate." With that, I give you Max. Have you recovered from that experience?
I have.
Okay.
It's good to know we donated all of it to a homeless shelter. Thank you, everyone. So once again, my name's Max Shulman. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. My father regrets that he's unable to make it tonight to support one of his favorite organizations. But it is my privilege and honor to introduce Ambassador Danny Danon, Israel's permanent representative to the United Nations. Prior to moving to the US in October of last year to assume that international position, Danny held senior positions in the Israeli government, including Deputy Minister of Defense, Minister of Science, Technology, and Space, and Deputy Speaker of the Knesset. Currently at the UN, he is the most activist ambassador that Israel has ever had. In only a bit more than a year at the UN, Danny has had many accomplishments. Here are a few of them. He succeeded in having a Yom Kippur recognized as an official UN holiday. He held the first ever international summit at the UN against the BDS movement. As a result of that summit, the UN Secretary General and the UN Security Council condemned Islamic terror against Israel for the very first time. And in June of this year, Danny was elected as chairman of the UN's legal committee. This was the first time in the history of the UN that an Israeli became the chairman of a permanent committee of the UN. His accomplishments are many, but what impresses me the most about Danny Danon is his unwavering position on the God-given right of Israel to exist as a Jewish state. In 2005, he was the leader in the opposition of the forced evacuation of 10,000 Jews from Gaza and northern Samaria, and he continues to be a staunch advocate for the right of Jews to live in Judea and Samaria. He has a powerful voice explaining to the world the dangers of formally recognizing a Palestinian state and refuses to recognize Israel that refuses to live in peace with her. Based on his accomplishments and on his steadfast position on the right of Israel to exist and to thrive as a Jewish state, I'm pleased to present the Dr. Bob Shulman Award for Astounding Diplomacy to Ambassador Danny Danon.
שלום. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Thank you, Max, for that warm introduction. Coming from the UN, I'm not used to it. But also at the UN, when we see a room full of people coming together to speak about Israel, usually it is a bad sign. But tonight, it is a different occasion. I'm honored to be with you here tonight. Seeing all of you here, one thing is very clear. We are surrounded tonight by incredible friends this evening, and Israel has no better friends than tonight's honorees. It's always a pleasure to welcome my friends from Israel. I saw my friends from Gdumim who joined us here tonight. Thank you for coming. Bernie, you put so much love and dedication into such important causes, whether it's your commitment to children with disabilities, or to Israel democracy, or preserving the beauty of our sea life. Your devotion to Israel and the Jewish people serves as a model for all of us. Thank you very much. Chairman Ed Royce, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. We do appreciate everything you do on behalf of the U.S.-Israel relationship on Capitol Hill. I look forward to continue working closely together with you as we have done, and we have done it in the past. I want to acknowledge a few of my friends here. I saw my friend Myron Zimmerman from San Francisco. You keep working every morning, Myron. Yeshar Koach. Joyce from Los Angeles. I have many, many, many friends in the audience. I wish I could name all of you. I want to thank Alan Dershowitz, who came and joined a few events also at the UN, fighting the BDS. Distinguished friends and colleagues, I have to acknowledge that my dear friend Bob Shulman is not here with us tonight. But Bobby is a real friend. He supports not only ZOA, he takes a stand proudly for Israel, even when others sometimes hesitate or think twice. Bob is a real Zionist, and it's an honor. It's an honor to receive an award dedicated to such a devoted Zionist. Last, but most certainly not least, Morton. Mort, I think I have known you for 25 years, maybe more. Thank you, Mort, for everything that you do on behalf of the ZOA. Tonight's impressive event is a real testament and recognition of your service to the Jewish people and our beloved country. And I have to admit, Mort, that every time I come to the ZOA event, you seem to be younger and more energetic. Ladies and gentlemen, when I arrived to the United Nations over a year ago, I made it very clear to my dedicated diplomats in our mission that we were entering a new era. Under my watch, we have vigorously stood up to anyone who spreads lies about Israel. And we work closely with our friends to fight against the endless attempts to condemn Israel. In almost every UN committee and agency, almost every single day, we see resolutions accusing of us of everything. You can name it. From poisoning the water supply of Palestinians, to blaming us for the rise of domestic Palestinian violence. The focus on Israel, the obsession with Israel, never stops. Look around. Even as Assad continues to massacre hundreds of thousands of his own citizens, and the Iranians continue to spread hate and terror throughout the region, what does the UN focus on? Israel. Do you know how many resolutions passed condemning the atrocities in Syria? Any idea? 0. While they passed 22 resolutions condemning Israel. Last month, UNESCO, the UN agency in charge of education, science, and culture, adopted a resolution that denied Jerusalem's Jewish heritage. They refused to recognize the Jewish connection to Har HaBayit, the Temple Mount, the holiest site in our tradition, the place that Jewish people have prayed to for centuries. Read the decision. You will see just how far our enemies are willing to go to erase any trace of the Jewish people from our homeland and from Jerusalem. But my friends, no political resolution can erase history. The truth and the facts will prevail. The land of Israel is the land of the Jewish people, and Jerusalem is and always will be our eternal capital. My friends, the hatred does not stop with UNESCO. We are witnessing a new wave of anti-Semitism. And let's be honest about it. Today, it's no longer politically correct to be anti-Semitic. So the bigots and the hypocrites, they are just being anti-Israel. We are just against Israel. But they don't fool us. A few months ago, the Palestinian representative to the UN compared the brave soldiers of the IDF to the Nazis. He said the actions of IDF soldiers defending the people of Israel were the same as the Germans who repressed the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Can you believe it? Comparing the men and women of Tzahal, Tzva Hagana Li'Israel, to the Nazi criminals. But this sickness, this newest wave of the world's oldest type of hatred, is not limited to the Palestinians. Speaking at the Security Council, the ambassador of Venezuela, Ambassador Ramirez, he had the nerve, he had the chutzpah to accuse Israel of committing a final solution against the Palestinians. We did not let it stand. We pressured him publicly and privately. We coordinated it with our allies in the UN, and we rallied our friends in the American Jewish community to express their outrage. We did not give up until the ambassador called me one night and apologized. Do you know what I told the ambassador? I told him, you don't need to apologize. You need to apologize to the people in Israel and to the entire Jewish people. And guess what? A few days later, he did. The UN itself is certainly not immune from this sickness, this new sickness and threat. The UN's Human Rights Council announced that it is creating a database, a blacklist of Israeli companies, and is demanding that international corporations boycott the hard-working residents of Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria. Ladies and gentlemen, drawing up blacklists remind us of a very dark period in our history. But in those dark days, there was no independent state of Israel. Today, we refuse to stay silent. We partnered with ZOA, and we held the largest anti-BDS summit ever in the UN's General Assembly, the site of 2,000 supporters of Israel, singing a tikva inside the UN, inside the General Assembly, was a remarkable show of strength. My friends, defending Israel at the UN is important, but it is not enough. We are also making important inroads and achieving important victories. Yes, victories in the UN in ways that everyone thought were impossible. And as Justice Brandeis once said, and I quote, "Most of the things we was doing in the world had been declared impossible before they were done. Last June, I had the honor of being the first Israeli elected to chair a permanent UN committee, the Legal Committee. This was an historic moment. No Israeli ambassador ever sat at the head of a UN committee before. Believe me, you should have been there. There was a big effort to stop us. The great democracies of the world, Iran, Syria, Yemen, they led a campaign against me because they didn't want an Israeli sitting at the head of a committee. If it was up to them, Israel wouldn't even be part of the UN. But this time, the moral majority was with us. 109 countries from 6 continents voted for us. This time, we defeated the anti-Israel campaign, and every day I go to the UN and preside over the committee as we work together with countries from all over the world to fight terrorism together. We are also teaching the representatives of the world about the real Israel, the Israel that you and I love so much. You see, when the nations of the world see that we respect our religion and traditions, they understand that Israel must be taken seriously. In my first speech at the Security Council, I put on my kippah on my head and I read from Tehillim. After the meeting, an ambassador from a Muslim country approached me and he told me, Ambassador Danon, I may not agree with much that you say, but when I saw you putting the kippah and the way that you treated your heritage and religion, I knew that I could trust you. Last Pesach, we held a model seder for over 40 ambassadors. They sat down for 3 hours and they learned that the desire of a free Jewish homeland did not begin with the Balfour Declaration, but with our enslavement in Egypt. We have even introduced kosher food in the UN cafeterias. Mort, you should relax. It's not like the food here tonight, but you didn't really expect that the UN would serve a smorgasbord for the people in the UN, but we are proud that we see the change. As a people and a nation, we respect countries. But now we are demanding the same respect in return at the UN. Max spoke about it, about Yom Kippur. Indeed, we made it clear that the most solemn day on the Jewish calendar deserves to be treated the same way, with the same respect as Christmas and Eid al-Fitr. And now I am proud to say that Yom Kippur is an official holiday at the UN. And you know what? I think a day off to repent, to do tshuva, is exactly what the UN needs. While we are proud, and we are proud, of all that we have accomplished at the UN in such a short time, we realize that even more challenging days lie ahead. Sitting here for 2 hours, I understood you had an election here recently. But in all seriousness, everyone has begun to look forward towards January and the new administration. I don't have that luxury. As Israel's ambassador to the UN, my team and I are fully focused on what is going on right now until the inauguration. Just recently, senior diplomats, including a foreign minister from a Security Council member state, told me in a meeting here in New York that they plan on taking advantage of the transition period to advance a one-sided resolution against Israel. What this resolution may look like is not yet clear. It may call on us to return to the indefensible pre-1967 lines, or it may condemn the building of homes in Yehuda and Shomron, but one thing is clear: such a resolution will be dangerous for Israel. It could pave the way for intense diplomatic activities against us, presenting new challenges in every international forum, and they can even lead to the possibility of international sanctions imposed against us. Every day, we explain to our friends at the UN, and even to those who are not our friends, that such initiatives will not only endanger Israel's security, but they will do nothing to better the lives of a single Palestinian. Let me be clear. We work very closely with the US mission every single day at the UN. The US has stood by our side and fought against some of the worst anti-Israel initiatives that our enemies tried to introduce at the UN, even vetoing a biased and one-sided resolution in the Security Council back in 2011. And we hope that America's support will continue until January 20th and beyond. We know that all too many forces are attempting to take advantage of these sensitive times. And this, my friends, this is where all of you come in. Israel's strength comes not only from the brave men and women of the IDF, we love them, but from our friends. We need your support as well. People like all of you here tonight, who are committed Zionists, play a vital part in our defense. We know that you support Israel unconditionally, and we know that you will continue to stand with us now like you always have. We know that we can count on you to make it clear to friend and foe alike that Israel will not be pressured to make concessions that will endanger our people, and to make it clear that no UN resolution can force us to betray our heritage. Ladies and gentlemen, I've spent some time tonight talking to you about the significant challenges that we face, and yet I am hopeful. We are witnessing amazing changes throughout the world. Despite all the darkness and the dangers, the world, and even the Middle East, is slowly rejecting the notion that Israel is a problem. Ambassadors stop me every day in the halls of the UN and tell me how much they want to learn from Israel. Sometimes we do it quietly, sometimes we do it publicly. Every week, we hold an event at the UN showcasing Israeli innovations and technology and displaying the beauty of our society. We all know that nothing builds a love for Israel like a visit to the Holy Land. We have accompanied the Secretary General, the US Ambassador, and ambassadors from around the world on visits to Israel. Next month, I will be leading another delegation of 15 UN ambassadors on a visit to Israel. You can call it birthright to ambassadors. Once they see Israel by themselves, once they see our security challenges and learn about our unique and innovative spirit, their opinion of Israel is never the same. Ladies and gentlemen, as Israel's ambassador to the UN, I represent all Israelis, from Haifa to Hebron, from Ashkelon to Ariel, from Ma'ale Adumim to Metula, and I do my best to serve my country in one of the world's most hostile bodies. But the UN only covers 6 blocks of New York. This is where you, our friends, play such an important role. We know that we can rely on you to be the proud Jewish voice for Israel whenever it is needed. Thank you all for standing up when others go silent. We will stand together against the anti-Semites we will continue together to tell the truth about Israel, and together we will prevail. Thank you.